Okay, what a treat. Thanks for that. Okay, so Joe, firstly, hi, everybody. I hope everyone's doing great. It's nice to see some awesome faces in here. We're going to start off. We've got Joe from beYogi. We've got a really exciting conversation we're going to have today. And Joe's going to share a lot of interesting insights of what he's seeing in the insurance field and some questions that some yoga teachers might be having. But why don't we start by everyone going into the chat and sharing where you are right now and like an amazing snack that you've had in the last 24 hours. So Joe, we're having hummus. Oh my God, this is really good. I already like what's happening. Okay, so we're all gonna go. Marshalltown, Iowa, street tacos, Las Vegas hummus. Veggies and dip, vegan raw puffs are insanely good. Mount Dora, Florida, kitchen sink cookies. Oh my God, there must be everything in there. Katie, what's up? Bay Area girl, apple and peanut butter, popcorn with ranch seasoning from Felicia. Hi. Kitchen sink cookies, vegan raw. Joe, what's your snack?
I just put it in there. I found this out late last night, how good this was. Strawberries with a little bit of Nutella on it. Delicious snack.
Sounds really dangerous. Coffee in Boston, what's up? A 200-hour finishing course, queso dip and chips, honey crisp apple and almond butter, spinach dip. Oh my God. CT strawberries and chocolate hummus? Is that a thing, Joe?
I've heard of that, actually. I saw that at the store one time. I haven't been brave enough to take the plunge yet, though. So I'd love to hear if that's good or not.
I'm in Tel Aviv where there's hummus everywhere and there's no chocolate hummus. So part of me is thinking that maybe I made a mistake. Jacksonville Beach, strawberries with Nutella, Joe gets it. And then it's excellent, I believe it. And we got Oriana from Minneapolis, plantain chips. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Joe, who's gonna, start chatting, and then we'll sort of just take all of it from there as he shares his information. Affogato is that ice cream and coffee, if I'm correct, Joe? Affogato, professional opinion.
That is outside of my area of expertise, but ice cream and coffee sounds delicious. So
yeah,
if that's not it, I want to find out what that is.
Yeah, so we want more of that. But everyone should feel welcome to eat snacks during this call. Like all conscious counsel calls, the point of this is to be with like-minded, awesome individuals and to eat snacks, basically, and learn a little bit about what's going on in our industry in different areas, but the focus is on the snacks. So I'm going to turn it over to Joe, who can give some introductory comments and just start as he likes. But just for me personally, say, Joe, I'm always so happy to be collaborating with you and working with you. I know that so much of our community loves working with beYogi Insurance, and I feel so lucky that we have an amazing trusted professional and an amazing company that we can turn to discuss any relevant issues and bring information to the forefront. So I'm going to turn my camera off, and I'm going to let you go for it, Joe. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Cory. No, I really appreciate you giving us a platform and an audience here to just kind of discuss some of the things we find super important in this industry. And I want to mirror your sentiment on, first off, how thankful we are for this wonderful partnership between our two organizations. I mean, what a perfect synergistic, collaboration we have between the two of us. We get so often, questions that in some cases are kind of outside of our area of expertise when they're asking things outside of insurance, the legal use of waivers, disclaimers, things of that nature. So, having you, Cory, and your team to be able to go and ping questions off to or send folks to whenever they have some legal questions has been such a benefit to the beYogi community. So we couldn't be more thankful for this wonderful partnership, and again for this platform to let us speak to your audience. So a real quick. My name is Joe Fagan. I'm the director of business development for Arthur J. Gallagher, who is the parent company over beYogi. beYogi is a membership program that's really mostly designed to offer the necessary liability insurance that a yoga instructor would need as they start their own business or work for a yoga studio. But really, beYogi is much more than that. While liability insurance is the core of what we offer, we go to great lengths to build additional value into our program so that our customers can find benefit all year long when they're, most likely not using the insurance. And what I mean by that is, most folks, and this is a good thing, most folks will enroll in insurance and never have to use it. And that's really the goal, right? You don't want to be hurting somebody. You don't want to ever get yourself in a position where there's a lawsuit or negligence. But we're here to really protect folks from those unforeseen instances or those circumstances that could be career or life altering. But again, even with the absence of an insurance claim, there's a tremendous amount of benefit we offer into our program. Our program really has kind of evolved into a full employee benefit program, as in they have access to discounted rates on dental insurance and vision insurance and a concierge service that I'll walk them through the ACA to find the lowest cost health insurance, as well as we offer industry discounts for all for a ton of wonderful products and services that yoga instructors might need, like continuing education, mats, tools, advanced trainings, things of that nature. And then we also provide a tremendous amount of content around helping yoga instructors succeed in business. What we have found through our years in the industry is that, in a very general sense, yoga instructors are very immersed into their practice. They've put their passion, their life into teaching yoga and becoming excellent at that piece of it. And where we find some yoga instructors might need a little help is on the business side of things, how to market yourself, how to add, how to create social media accounts, and how to, create an LLC or file your taxes, things of that nature. So we provide a ton of content around all that because we want to help our yoga instructors not only, protect them from cases, but also to succeed in business. It's an important thing if you want to maintain a career in yoga. So really, that's my role. As the director of business development, my role is really to find and form relationships within the yoga industry. So we'll work often with companies who either have similar audiences to ours and come up with creative ways where we could work together to leverage each other's audience to kind of give exposure to each other. Or I'm constantly negotiating with companies in the yoga space that offer discounts that offer services to our customers and they might benefit from a discount from, and I'll negotiate discounts to put inside of our member portal. So as our customers know, as you see, if you enroll into our program, not only do you, of course, you have that protection, but you have the slew of discounts and extra things that we've added into our program. So we hope that our customers benefit from. So that's me, that's us, that's who we are, that's what we do. I'm going to kind of throw in a couple of topics for today, but one thing I do want to mention that as we have this chat open, please throw in any questions, any comments. If you have any specific questions you want to get answered today, throw it in the chat. Hopefully we'll be able to answer them. And if not, what we'll do, and Cory, correct me if I'm wrong here, what we've done in the past is put together a post webinar communication that we can email out with the answers to questions, either if we don't know the answer on this webinar, or if we just don't get to it. So please put your questions in there. It'll get answered one way or another.
Yeah, and we'll make sure everyone gets the answers. And I can bring to your attention, Joe, there was just one question about aerial yoga.
Please.
So maybe you want to address that. The question was from Michelle, who said, I'm interested to hear more about insurance for aerial yoga. So just if you make sure to cover or address that, and then we're going to record this, we send it out to our whole community, and any other questions or answers, we'll make sure that we send over as well. So that's what I see coming in so far. And yeah, otherwise you're doing awesome and keep rolling.
Perfect, Cory. And of course, feel free to interrupt anytime if you feel that there's a necessary topic to engage in, or if you see any questions that I may have missed. But again, thank you. And actually, I'm glad the question about aerial yoga was brought up, because this kind of pivots right into a very important piece of information that I like to share with everybody who I speak to in the insurance business. And that is when you're enrolling in liability insurance as a yoga instructor, it's so important to ask specific questions related to your business, to make sure that the program that you're enrolling in is going to cover everything you do. Cory Sterling is a master at explaining this type of information. For instance, if you're putting a waiver out there, conscious counsel are really the experts in what needs to go into a waiver. And I'm not going to speak what Cory's expertise is, but it's all really designed around making sure that waiver lays out everything that you do, specifically everything that you do within that practice, the risks of that, the potential outcomes, things of that nature. So anyway, where I'm going with that is make sure you ask questions like, do you cover aerial yoga? And I want to be very clear here. Michelle, is it Michelle? Yeah, it was Michelle Mitchell. Our program unfortunately does not cover aerial yoga. We cover standard paddleboard yoga. We cover acro yoga. We cover almost every modality under yoga, every discipline under yoga, but that is one that we specifically exclude. And the reason is because the loss ratios are higher in that. So if we did include that, we wouldn't be able to only charge $179 retail rate a year for our program. It would cost much, much more. So we had to make some strategic decisions to be able to help more folks within the industry. And when I say that, so we wanted to be able to offer our program at a more heavier discounted rate to the folks who aren't doing aerial yoga. So if you do aerial yoga and you need coverage for that, simply throw it into Google search for aerial coverage for aerial yoga, and you'll find there's many companies out there that do cover that. We just don't. So I want to be palms up. One thing else I want to mention here too, because I know Conscious Counsel has a global audience, is that our program specifically is only covers folks within the US. That is pretty standard across the board. Every country has different laws and regulations around liability insurance. So it's really difficult to get a program that covers your work in more than one country. There are ways to do it, or you can take your program, potentially go to a local agent and have them write a rider for you if you're doing like a week-long retreat in another country, things like that. But so just to be clear again, our program does not cover aerial yoga, and it is US based. So I just want to make sure that is palms up and clear. I do see another quick question here from Katie Santos. I've been told by insurance brokers that my clients who have employees, that the employees are generally covered under the studio policy and may not need their own individual policy. What is your thought? Katie, you just asked my very favorite question. I was going to tee that up without, I was going to jump right into that anyway. I'm just really glad you kind of gave me that little softball tee up. Please appreciate it. That is an excellent question and one we get very, very often. If you are a yoga instructor and you are working for a franchise as a W-2 employee, are you covered under their policy? And the answer is, it's not 100% clear. Mostly the way those work is that a business owner will have a business owner's policy that covers everything, all of the liability of the business, of the owner, and then it will extend what is general liability insurance typically to the employees within. Meaning that if somebody trips and falls, and water is spilled, somebody slips, hits their head, kind of the unforeseen freak accident is typically covered. The more important piece of it, which is professional liability insurance, is typically not covered under a business owner's policy. Now, what's the difference there? Why would you need professional liability insurance? Professional liability insurance is what doctors get. It's what they call malpractice insurance. It's also very important in yoga. It's important in massage. It's important even in beauty and fitness, all of the things of that nature. And what professional liability does is it covers your negligence. So if you make a mistake, if you do something, if you give some instruction that causes an injury, that would fall under professional liability insurance. And in almost every case, a yoga instructor is not covered for professional liability insurance under a business owner's policy. Now, what does that mean? How does that expose you? So if you are working with somebody and something happened, freak accident, which we do see claims for every day, and that person decided to sue you and the business's lawsuit would be covered, but yours would not. It could tremendously put you at risk. So we do encourage folks that even if you work for an employer, that it does make sense to enroll in our program for that added layer of protection, number one, if you're working there, but also if you're doing any work on the side, if you do any yoga instruction at home or at a different studio, or whatever it might be, our program follows you anywhere you work, and it's kind of designed for that. So if you work at multiple studios or if you do some freelance work on your own, our program will cover you for all of those things. And I'll go into the specifics of what our program covers, because our program is similar to a business owner's policy, but designed for an individual. And I'll explain what that means as well. So Katie, I hope that gives you an answer. I know the one thing that is difficult in the insurance business is you'll hear answers, but you'll hear answers that aren't 100%. It's like, in most cases, but I have to say that because it's true. There are some businesses that will pay that extra money and offer professional liability insurance coverage for their employees. But number one, it's not required, so almost nobody does it, and it costs a lot of money, so almost nobody does it. That's why it's so important for the instructor themselves to enroll, to kind of take ownership of their own protection, if that makes sense. So good. Oh, Katie, I see that you said good info. Thanks. You're welcome. Absolutely. And please keep those questions coming. That's what we're here for. All right, real quick, let me just pull up this outline. So topics for today, as was kind of outlined as we've discussed, but again, if y'all have more important topics you would like, or things you would like to get answered, let me know, because we can pivot this as much as we, I want this to benefit the folks who are watching it, so please let me know. But since the pandemic, we've seen large franchise yoga studios and training companies have started snatching up small studios, so they're acquiring these smaller studios, which in turn were had to close during the pandemic. So with more contracted teaching jobs opening up at large franchise studios, the question about coverage as an independent contractor has come up often. So again, Katie, this is exactly where I was about to take this dialogue anyway, so I'm really glad you asked the question. So does yoga instructor insurance cover you if you work for a national chain? Well, it's not that clear. Mostly it does not. It does if you enroll into your own program, typically not under their business owner's policy. We want to help clear up confusion about working for a large and well-established company. So what's the difference in independent contractor versus full-time employees? And actually, Cory, maybe you could kind of jump on this question. Do you have if I was to ask you, what is the difference between an independent contractor and a full-time employee in terms of a legal definition and your rights? Do you have how would you answer that?
Yeah, well, it's confusing because for an individual, either as a business owner or as an individual practitioner, there's not like necessarily always an obligation to declare whether your workers are a contractor or employee. It's not like, oh, before you can pay them or work with them, you have to make this formal declaration. So a lot of the times what happens is businesses will start working with someone, maybe even in an informal way. And then over time, the relationship will formalize, and the way that they're asking people to do things will change. And then even without you knowing it, someone could shift from being a contractor to an employee. So the first reason why it's not always clear is because the people involved, whether it's a studio owner or an individual teacher, they can't always appreciate the difference between what a contractor is and what an employee is. And so that's like, even when two people don't even know the rules around an arena that they're entering, it becomes even more convoluted or challenging. So I'm happy to sort of demystify or clarify some of the main simple, easy points that will help everyone to understand what the difference between a contractor and an employee is. And it is a complex area of law. But having said that, there are some simple, basic truths and rules that we can always go back to. One thing also is that it does vary based on jurisdiction. So depending what state or province you are in, there may be a different legal test about someone who either you're working for or someone who's working for you, whether they're a contractor or an employee. But in a very, very general, basic sense, like just in the spirit of spending a Wednesday morning with friends, hanging out by the computer screen, talking about insurance and employees and contractors. The whole idea is that an independent contractor is someone who operates their own business and with whom you are taking part of essentially offloading services from your business and hiring someone else to do it. But this person runs their own business. They're an individual. They should be invoiced. They could be invoicing on their own. You're not allowed to control the way that services are completed. Maybe they need to have their own insurance. But essentially, it's someone who offers a service that's their profession. That's what they do professionally. Whereas an employee, very simply, is someone who works for your company. Okay, you're an employee for the company. I have full control over the way the services are performed. I can tell you where to be and when to be and what you have to do and how you have to do it. And you're going to put on this t-shirt and you're going to use this email address and you're going to follow a certain process with clients every time. That's an example of what an employee looks like, someone who you're able to control the way the services are performed. And an independent contractor, someone, again, they operate their own business. You're sort of just letting someone else take over part of your business for you. Like, for example, at Conscious Counsel, we have a graphic designer. So nothing related to law. Her name is Mallory. She's awesome. I don't tell Mallory what computer program she has to use. I don't tell her anything. I'm like, hey, can you get us a design for this? She does it on her own time, whenever she wants, at her own pace. She sends it to me afterwards, and then I pay her. She has other clients that she works with. And so that's the big distinction. And then like the final thing that I just want to say about this jurisdiction piece is that there are some jurisdictions like California that we know, where in California, they have a three-pronged test to determine whether or not someone is a contractor or an employee. And the three tests are basically, are the services that the person is performing for your business, are they the core function of your business? So I'm a yoga studio, I'm hiring a yoga teacher. Therefore, because this person is offering the services that is the core function of my business, at law, they are an employee and they are afforded the benefits of what an employee should get. And that's like, that's sort of a curveball that when it happened was a really big shift to the industry, but that's like sort of the caveat. So just in summary, Joe, before I turn it over to you, and maybe some questions have come in that I'll be happy to address, but just for everyone to understand what we're talking about, who is a contractor, who's an employee. First things first, the parties can sign an agreement to say, okay, this is a contractor, this is an employee, but that's not always going to be definitive in deciding whether or not the person is a contractor or an employee, because a lot of employers will try to take advantage of people and call them contractors and not have to contribute to unemployment insurance and all other government taxes for having employees. And so remember, it's part of it is the intention of the parties, but even more than that, it's how the services are performed. That's what will determine if someone is a contractor or an employee. And then there are obviously, once someone is an employee, there are a whole slew of rights that are afforded to them under relevant employment pieces of legislation based on the state and how they work. And then there are a couple of other nuances, but I think, and then the last thing just to remember is that based on the jurisdiction, someone might automatically be deemed an employee by the nature of the services that they perform. So I'll just sort of stop there, Joe. I hope I was able to sort of clarify that and answer that question for everyone.
Yeah, no, that was great, Cory. Thank you. There was a follow-up question from Chasen Brown that came in that I feel is kind of maybe within your wheelhouse. There's a couple of questions that came in. I'm just going to skip ahead to this question since it's related to what Cory just mentioned here. But Chasen followed up with, so do you have to have your own business to be an independent contractor, or do you just by default start a business? Obviously, there's some steps to take. Cory, would you mind addressing that?
Yeah, so Jason, that's a great question. And it's not, do you have to have your own business to be an IC? No, not at all. You can, and this sort of speaks to the different structures that we have legally in setting things up. So for example, let's say Cory, I'm going to go teach a yoga class at a studio. I don't need to, I'm doing it personally. So I'm operating as a sole proprietor. So Cory Sterling, am going to sign a contract working with that studio, depending on the type of contract they give me. And so, no, you certainly don't need your own business to operate as an independent contractor. But the thing is that when I say that a contractor performs services as if they are their own business, that's more of like the legal perspective to look at it, right? So, okay, this person's hiring me, I'm a contractor. I personally can do it. I don't need a business license in order to teach yoga. I probably would need a teaching certificate and insurance, and I'd want to have insurance. But you don't, you're confusing the word business, not confusing, but the word business is being used in two different senses here. So just to clarify it is that you as a sole proprietor, just as an individual, can go and work for someone. And if they're hiring you as a contractor, you enter into that agreement personally as a sole proprietor. And that's it. It's just you, who you are, signing a contract the same way you go to the DMV to get your license. You don't need a business. It doesn't make you a business by virtue of doing it. But then for tax purposes, you obviously have to declare the income personally and not on behalf of the company. So you can let me know if that makes sense. And then CL says, as a small business owner, do subcontractors who are sole props versus C Corp, S Corp status for their own business matter and or change anything? No, not necessarily. Remember, the way that it works at law is two parties enter into an agreement. So there's the studio and there's the teacher. If the teacher runs retreats and teacher trainings and is really special and awesome and big, and I'm not saying that if you don't have those things, you're not special, awesome, and big, but let's say someone that's they have an S corp that they've created. All that it means is the independent contractor agreement, the two parties is going to be the studio, and then whatever, the S corp that's going to be hiring the teacher to perform the class. So as the yoga studio, it doesn't really affect you in the sense that it doesn't matter if the person who works for you is an S corp, or if they're an individual or a sole prop or an LLC. That doesn't really affect you, but you need to make sure that the legal agreements are drafted properly to name the parties accordingly. So CL, I hope that helps. And Joe, I'll turn it over to you, and we'll see what other questions come up.
That was great, Cory. Thank you so much. Yes, please, guys, keep rolling in with these questions because we want to clear up. This stuff gets confusing. So please, I love that y'all are asking these questions because I feel like a lot of folks, they either don't know what to ask or they may avoid the question. And it's just so important that in these forums, because this is all very confusing stuff. Insurance is confusing, becoming an independent contractor, the difference in sole proprietorship and S corp, it's all very confusing. So again, Cory, thanks for your insight there. Just to back up real quick, I saw that CL, another question that you had posted earlier is that as a small business owner, you require your subcontractors to have insurance and proof of it. Is there a rewards or discount program for those of us that refer professionals to beYogi? So glad you asked. There is. That's what I do every day is to source and find relationships that we can build partnerships to help gain exposure really kind of on both sides. So yes, I would love to chat with you potentially after this and discuss what a partnership might look like. We have opportunities to offer unique discounts, revenue share on our programs and various other marketing opportunities too. So what I'll do is at the conclusion here, in fact, I'll do it here shortly. I'll put my contact information in this chat. Anybody interested in following up about any partnership questions or really anything at all, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm not an expert in all things, so if I don't know the answer, I can at least point you in the right direction on some folks who may have the answer. But in terms of partnerships, setting up things of that nature, that is within my wheelhouse and would love to have those discussions. All righty. All right. So again, thanks again, Cory, for the independent contractor versus full-time employees definitions. I think that stuff's important. All right. So how does liability insurance work for the individual and why is it important? So just want to briefly kind of go over what our program covers. What is the full 360-degree coverage that our program offers, and what do most programs offer, and kind of what questions should an independent contractor be asking if you're looking for liability insurance? So our program, specifically beYogi, and a lot of folks within this space have similar coverages. And what I mean, most programs will have both professional and general liability, and our program does. So we offer professional liability, and that's covered up to $2 million per occurrence, or up to $3 million per year. So you can have claims up to $3 million per year for professional liability insurance. And that is, of course, the negligence piece. So if something that you do within your instruction hurts somebody, that's covered. We do find that we have actually a lot more general liability suits than we do professional liability suits. And we offer coverage for general liability. General liability is the trip and fall insurance, the kind of the freak accident insurance. We cover that up to $2 million per occurrence, $3 million per year, just like professional liability. The fact that we have more claims for general liability than professional liability, I think is good. It's a good story. And what does that mean? That means that folks in our industry are trained very well. They're not hurting people. They're doing a good job of the yoga instruction. However, it's really difficult to foresee that freak accident. Water dripping, so water's leaking from the roof, hits the ground, somebody slips and falls, hits their head. Those are a more typical type of claim that we see come in. So it's not that yoga instructors are doing anything wrong, but those freak accidents just do happen. So professional and general liability coverage, both very, very important. Another coverage that we offer as a part of ours is product coverage. So if you use a tool that causes an injury, or if you use a product on a skin or something that causes an injury, that's covered up to $2 million. We also include coverage for damage to rental premises. So if you are renting a studio space or leasing a space from a studio owner, in almost every case, they're going to require you that you carry some type of insurance for rental damage. Our program includes that automatically, a coverage up to $100,000. We also include $1,000 of stolen or damaged equipment insurance. So if you're, anything that you use, mats, an iPhone, an iPad, gets stolen, gets damaged, that's covered in our program. And then we also offer $25,000 of identity theft coverage as a part of our program. And the reason we did that is we found that people that started to get certified within our space became susceptible to cyber attacks. So that's another piece of coverage that we get a lot of claims for that's been very beneficial to our to our industry. Now, not all of those pieces are available in most programs out there. A lot of those pieces are unique to our program. But if you are an independent contractor and you're looking for liability insurance, those are the types of questions to ask. What is covered under your program? Do you cover my specific liability insurance? Do you cover aerial yoga? Do you cover stand-up paddleboard yoga? Do you cover acro yoga? Do you cover, hot yoga? Make sure that you're bringing to that conversation exactly what you do and asking the questions to see if the insurance covers you, because you'll find that not every insurance company does. And, insurance companies typically are an open book about those things. So those are some important pieces. So while I kind of explained all of the insurance pieces to our program, as I mentioned briefly earlier, there really is so much more. There is, we go to great lengths. We do realize that the program we offer, it's insurance, and insurance is a tough psychological thing, I feel like, to purchase, because you're purchasing something that you hope you never use. That's a weird thing. So every year I got to spend $200 on something that I hope that I never use. Yeah, but what it does is that, again, it protects you from the thing that'll probably never happen to you. But if it does, it could be life altering, career altering. And we see it all the time. We see, 6-figure, 5-6-figure claims come in daily. We haven't, knock on wood, seen a 7-figure claim ever come in. And we're hoping to avoid that forever, because that would be a pretty bad event that would have occurred. But again, so knowing that our folks enroll in our program every year, they hope they don't use it, and most of our customers never will use the insurance, which is a beautiful thing. We, again, provide a tremendous amount of benefit on the other side of it, so that they are using various pieces within our program, whether it's the industry discounts that we're constantly negotiating and adding to our program, or the wonderful insurance marketplace that we offer now, inclusive of discounts on dental and vision and health insurance, things like that. Things a lot of folks within our industry can't get access to because they don't work for a major employer. So those pieces have become very important to our customers. So ask, if you're looking for several insurance companies, ask if they cover those things. Ask what additional benefits come with it. Find out, look at all those and see which program is best for you. All right, I've spoken for a little while, so I'm going to go back. It looks like a few questions have come in. I'm going to jump to. Let's see what the next one is. Okay, we already addressed that. Thank you, Cory. Thank you. You're welcome, Chris. Most odd question ever. I already like this question, Victoria. Will our insurance work in correctional faculties? Will our insurance work in correctional facilities working with wardens of the state, i.e. jails, prisons, and juvenile justice? First off, Victoria, thank you for doing what you do. Serving yoga to the underserved communities is a passion project that we at beYogi have, and we have partnered with a couple of companies who do just that. One of them called the Give Back Yoga Foundation. They actually have a training program that teaches yoga instructors how to work with inmates to serve those underserved communities. And then another one called Connected Warriors down out of South Florida, run by Judy Weaver. She they go and teach yoga at some of the toughest places on the planet. And not all the time do they get a warm welcome, but over time they have found that to be one of the most important bodies of work that they've ever done. They're teaching people who are forgotten and bringing them kind of back into the spiritual space, and it's been such a beautiful thing. So the answer is, Victoria, yes, we do cover work within a correctional facility. We don't. What I mean by that is we don't have any exclusions for working in a facility of that nature, and that's the important piece. That's the way kind of insurance is always written. Here's the program, here's the practice that we cover, and then here's everything that we exclude. And if something is not excluded, that means it's included. So yes, you can go work at a correctional facility. And again, just thank you for doing that. I love hearing that, and would love to talk to you more kind of about your work. Every now and again, when we hear or see a story of something of that nature, we love to do a blog post, amplify what you're doing. I think it's such beautiful work. Do we cover water yoga, Dana? Yes, we do. We do. We cover, there's water release therapy, which is a particular yoga, almost kind of a yoga massage modality that we've gotten coverage for. And it was actually within the last couple of years where we added coverage for stand-up paddleboard yoga. If that's the type of yoga you're doing, stand-up paddleboard, which I know is not exactly water yoga, you do have to be anchored. There's that one restriction there. But we do cover yoga in the water. Again, that's one of those non-excluded things. We don't exclude yoga being done in the water. Just be safe, please. It's important. Melissa Bell, I'm going to read this out. So it looks like potentially a long questions regarding multiple disciplines. I am a yoga instructor and a personal trainer. Oh, I'm loving this question already, and I'll talk to you something specific about this. I'm currently working at a local big box gym doing PT only. I'm assuming that's personal training, not physical therapy. Personal training only. Is there coverage for being a trainer at a gym? I just found out that we are not W-2, but 1099. Question 2. First off, the answer is yes. Our beYogi policy does not cover personal training, but we have a separate policy through another brand that we offer called Insure Fitness Group. And if you enroll through that program, it's the same price, but it will cover you as a personal trainer and yoga instructor. Why is it a different program? It's a little riskier, so we had to lower the coverage amount. So instead of 2 million per occurrence, it's 1 million per occurrence. That's the only real difference, 1 million per occurrence instead of 2. Interesting thing is we've never seen a claim come in even close to $1 million. So it's excessive coverage, but we had to have those limits because some places, some states, some facilities will require you carry that amount of coverage. So we wanted to be able to, we wanted our program to offer it at that amount so that if you purchased ours, you weren't going to be rejected by a gym or what have you. So, so yeah, that's it. You would just roll into a different program of ours, which is kind of tiered. So our Insure Fitness Group program will cover personal trainers and then everything else under it, yoga instructors, massage, and all of those different things. And Melissa, again, I'll put all my contact information in there. You can reach out to me directly and I kind of point you in the right direction for that. Question number 2, next year we will be moving to our own home in the mountains. Congratulations. And I'll be running both training and yoga, both individual and classes out of my home studio. What do I need to think about to do that without being covered for the risk of doing these things? What I need to set up a business entity of some sort? What type of coverage would I need? If this is too much, feel free to contact me outside the webinar. No, Melissa, I mean, granted, if we want to get deep into some specifics, certainly we can connect outside of that. But I think your question is relevant to the group in general, because these are questions that a lot of people tend to have. So one piece of information is that if you are running a business out of your home, do recommend you getting set up as an LLC or some type of business entity. I would refer to Cory more for detailed information on that. But one piece of information I do want to mention is that your homeowner's insurance. In most cases, your homeowner's insurance does not like you working out of home. So you need to contact them first. What you don't want to do is for your homeowner's insurance to find out that you're running a business out of your home and then them deny a homeowner's insurance claim. That could be catastrophic. Or them to cancel, to cancel your insurance. So you just need to be palms up about all. So make sure you're talking to your homeowner's insurance about that. You can what you'll let them know is that you're going to get specific coverage for your business there. So they shouldn't really necessarily need to charge you more or anything like that. They just need to be in the know. That way, if a claim comes in, it's palms up. There's no, if you go and file a claim and they find out at that point that you've been running a business out of your home, that's when an insurance company could potentially deny a claim. And you just never want to be in that arena where an insurance company could potentially deny. So yes, is setting up a business entity. I would recommend maybe speaking to Cory more about that. And then the type of coverage you would typically need. Our program tends to work perfect for that, because not only do we cover live face-to-face as you're doing out of your home, if you ended up doing some online coverage, we cover live online as well. Our program now even covers pre-recorded videos. That was something that was added as a response to the pandemic, as a lot of yoga instructors were shifting their business to these online model and finding tremendous benefit from doing so. But anyway, so we cover live face-to-face, live online, as well as pre-recorded video. So our coverage would work for that.
Joe, I'm just going to chime in for 1 second, if that's cool.
Please.
So firstly, you're doing great, and I just want I want everyone, if you can just throw me like a thumbs up on the screen to let me know that you're enjoying this and having fun, or go to the chat and write the word fun, which is what I'm going to do right now because I am having fun with this. And I'm going to talk about operating out of your home in a second. But Joe, what I think is awesome, and look how many thumbs up there are, Joe. So you're doing awesome. And what I love about this, I don't know if everyone else picks up on this too, but obviously for me, when I talk about law, I get passionate and I'm into it. And like, people who aren't into law must just look at me and be like, yo, Cory's crazy. This guy is nuts. And I hear the same enthusiasm and passion, Joe, in the way that you speak about insurance, which just makes me happy. I'm like, when I hear you speaking with that passion, I'm like, this guy loves insurance. So it's great to be with passionate professionals, and I appreciate that so much about you, man. And that's why I love working with you. So I just wanted to acknowledge you for the passion in how you speak about this topic and how you're able to help people. And yeah, and you want to be, when it comes to operating out of a home, we've identified some of the big things. Obviously the biggest situation is protecting your assets as best as possible. which is having legal documents to cover your liability. Because it's happening in your home, you have equity in that home, unless you're renting the home. But if you have equity in the home and someone gets injured coming to practice with you at your place, you just want to make sure that everything's absolutely dialed in. So creating a separate LLC is good. Having a rental agreement between the LLC and maybe you as the homeowner can be good, and putting in relevant legal provisions there to make sure that there's no connection. You want to separate it as clearly as possible. And you just want to be aware of it. And just for me, hearing that question and that conversation, what's also really important around that is making sure, exactly what Joe said about making sure that you're covered, like that your homeowner's insurance is covered, because that situation where you may be denied a claim is not a good situation, and you want to do everything to avoid it. The legal documents are extremely supportive in establishing a legal position, getting someone to sign away legal rights, showing that it's a normal commercial relationship, that maybe the space is being rented, or whatever we have to do legally to protect you from liability. We're going to do that properly. But yeah, you always want to make sure that the insurance coverage, that you're covered for what you do. So the game in like any online course, or anytime I speak to clients, I always tell them to play a really fun game. And that game is, for the way you play the game is, firstly, you start with a snack. So it could be something as tasty as strawberries and Nutella, if you're just feeling crazy. Then you write down on a piece of paper all of the things that you, all of the different ways that you operate your business and where you're operating it from. And then you call your insurance company and you say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Is this all good? Will I be covered for all of these things? And then in the event that they say, no, you're actually not covered to practice out of your house, cool. Okay, now I know that, and now I can operate and adjust accordingly. But really, when it comes to legal, you want things customized and specific. You want to work with someone who understands what your areas of liability or risk are. And when it comes to insurance, you want to make sure that you're totally covered for everything that you do. And then you get to be awesome and run yoga classes wherever you want and do it any way that you want and be the amazing, gifted individual that you are. So I'm going to throw it back to you, Joe, and keep going, man.
Fantastic, Cory. Thank you. These webinars are so perfect, man. We do webinars from time to time with various partners, but there's none as beneficial as this, because there's constantly questions that come up. And it's so funny, in almost every webinar I host, a question comes up, and I almost always have to say, I don't know the answer to that. I really wish Cory Sterling was on this call, because he'd be able to lend his expertise. And it's so nice to be able to get answers in real time like this. So thank you.
No, if you want, like, you can just you and I can have an open Zoom, so that 24 hours a day, you and I are together. And whenever you have that feeling like, I wish Cory Sterling was here, I'll be there for you, Joe.
I love it, buddy. And more importantly, I look forward to us being in the same country at some time, so we can actually, commiserate on this wonderful partnership that we've had.
Yeah, we're going to do it. We've got 12 minutes, so keep going. And anything else that you have, and any other question, everyone, you're doing amazing. So feel free to continue asking, and I'll turn it over to you again.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm just going to go back and make sure we've answered all these questions. Okay. Yeah. So what are yoga? Yes. Michelle, Melissa, I hope that answered your questions. Geez, seriously, bravo. Thank you. Can you share, Heidi wrote, can you share a link for the personal trainer insurance in the email, perhaps, please? I messaged Heidi directly, but for the whole group, I'll even put in this chat here. That is, and this is one of our brands as well. It's www.insurefitness.com. So make sure you check that out. If you are a personal trainer, you'd want to go that route, because it'll cover you for personal trainer and yoga. If you are only a yoga instructor, when I say only a yoga instructor, that's not the right way to put it. Being a yoga instructor is a beautiful, well-rounded, awesome thing. If you are a yoga instructor and not a personal trainer, though, beYogi is the proper direction to go. Peggy did ask a question. I'm thinking of combining a tumbling/gymnastics class with yoga for children. Do I need separate insurance for the gymnastics part? That's a great question, Peggy. For that particular question, I'd really want you to actually call and speak to one of our licensed agents in the call center. I am myself a licensed agent, and I understand the details of our policy, but my role, for the most part, is forming relationships, building the business, finding creative ways where we can get exposure through the community or give exposure to other yoga instructors to help the industry. So I am not I'm not day to day understanding kind of the evolution of our program. And so our licensed agents they're on top of it every day. So what I want you to do is reach out to them and ask and talk to them specifically about what you're doing. There's a very good chance that everything involved in that class is covered under beYogi or Ensure Fitness Group. I don't want to state it without having you speak to one of our local agents who's fully dialed into that. And the way you can, by the way, reach a licensed agent is it's an 800 number. I'll put this in the chat too, but it's 1-800-516-8822. That's our call center. We have a couple call centers. They're all licensed agent. They're super friendly. You can ask them questions anytime. You can just call to ask a question or two and then hang up if you want. But that's where I'd refer you to go talk to them about everything you do. And if we don't have a program, if what you do is outside of our scope of coverage, they'll point you in a direction or at least give you advice on what the next step would take, maybe who to reach out to. All right. Why does your team play? Make sure I don't miss anything. Okay, Peggy, that was your fun. I'm glad everybody's having fun. That's a beautiful thing. Please info I need to know. All right. Why does your typical home insurance so expensive for at-home yoga studios if you are only taking on one or small group clients? It acts like your big box gym with an income to pay for business insurance. The cost is prohibitive. Do you all sell any business in-home insurance options on top of the service and individual insurance? I'm sorry, Heidi, I may need some clarity on this question. Why does your typical home insurance? So if you're talking about homeowners insurance, that's well outside of my area of expertise. I'm with you. It's funny because Cory had just mentioned how he loves how I speak so passionately about insurance. I don't mind saying this out loud. That was not natural. That took a minute for me to dive in. What I am passionate about is this industry. I'm passionate about the yoga industry, the fitness industry, health and wellness, spirituality, all of those things. What I have learned to become passionate about over time, because I have seen how our program protects people, I've become passionate about insurance. I'm passionate about our business and I love what we do. But I was not passionate about insurance a few years ago prior to kind of getting into the industry. But once I learned all the wonderful benefits of it, now I've completely done a 180 here. But anyway, where I'm going with that is I don't know all that much about homeowners insurance to be able to give you kind of insight on that piece. If you are talking about a professional liability insurance that covers you working out of your home, well, our program does, and it's only $179 a year. So I wouldn't really put that in the cost prohibitive category. It's less than $20 a month. Now, if you're talking about a business owner's insurance, and the difference is, so if you don't have W-2 employees, our program in almost every case will work. If you do have W-2 employees, there are laws and regulations different in each state that may require you to carry some additional coverages that satisfy those laws. Things like workman's comp, business interruptions insurance, protection for your employees. And so in those cases, the business owner's policies, if you do have to cover the business and the employees, yes. And a lot of times those can be cost prohibitive, $1,000, $3,000, $5,000 for the year. But if you are an individual and you don't have W-2 employees and you're working a business out of your home and it's in the United States, in most cases, our program will work for you, and it's only $179 a year at retail rate. And there's even a discount that we have in partnership with Counsel. It's another link I'll put into the chat later or at the very end of this, which is in just a few minutes. Now, that obviously would complement your own homeowner's insurance, which, can be anywhere from $1,000 to a few $1,000s. So that part I'm just not well versed in. Heidi, I hope if I didn't answer your question correctly, please follow up in the chat. And it looks like you may have already done that.
Yeah, and Joe, I just sort of want to chime in a little bit there as well. So firstly, I think for Heidi's question, I think it's a really good question. And it seems like if she doesn't have W-2 employees, that she can connect with someone at beYogi and make sure that through that policy that she'd be covered to operate out of her home. Obviously, there are some nuances, but I'm sure she can speak to someone and get clarity around that. But I just wanted to touch on that point of sometimes this happens often with me when I'm working with clients who are just starting a new yoga business, where they're just starting up and they're even just starting with friends and family. and they'll say, oh, like, do I really need legal documents for even though I'm doing this? And I just wanted to speak a little bit about liability very, very briefly, because the way that liability works is it's automatically created at law. So that even if I'm just, Cory, I have my best friend, Tom, who's coming over, and I'm going to do a yoga class for Tom, and then Tom gets injured and gets hurt. At law, it doesn't matter if Tom was paying me $1 million or if Tom was paying me $0. If I had a duty of care to make sure that Tom was going to be safe in the operation, providing the services to Tom. And so as such, I'm responsible legally. And so, sometimes investing in legal documents is it's a lot of money. It's an investment, but it's for your protection and for your relationships. But I just wanted to share that it happens often where clients are just, I've only got one or two, I'm doing health coaching for 2 or 3 clients. Do I really need to invest in legal documents? Do I really need to invest in insurance? And the answer is always yes, because it just takes one thing. And I'm sure at Joe's office, I'm sure he has a laundry list of stories that happen every day. But sometimes it seems unfair, like, oh, I only have 2 clients. Do I really need to get these documents and the insurance, and why is it so expensive? And so the first thing I'd say is, like, investigate if it really is that expensive by calling someone and saying, this is, I have this type of contractor, they're not W-2, I'm operating out of my home, this is how I'm doing it, am I covered under this policy? And then secondly, just understand it's the cost of doing business. The cost, fortunately or unfortunately, our society is set up in the way where when one person is facilitating a service for another, you accept responsibility within that. And the way that you protect yourself is with legal documents and insurance. And you just have to sort of look at it as a trade-off in some sense. So I just wanted to chime in and say that, because I hear that a lot from clients who are just starting, like, oh, do I really need to get insurance set up, even if I'm just doing this out of my home for a couple of people? Or do I really need legal documents? And in a worst case scenario where someone gets significantly injured and is no longer able to work or earn money and support their family, like, that's going to be a very, very significant problem very, very quickly for you. And the whole point of having the documents and the insurance together is, like, to make it all chick-chock, we can respond on behalf of you. Someone legally signed away their rights to hold you responsible. You have an awesome legal position right from the start to get sorted. So I just wanted to chime in, because I feel for you, Heidi, when sometimes you look at things and you think, oh, but it's so expensive to operate this out of my home. And so first things first, make sure that you have clarity about the path of least resistance and the easiest way to get there. And then secondly, just understand that that's like one of it's the cost of doing business and accepting responsibility for others. So Joe, we've just got 3 minutes. If I'm going to go through the chat, if there are any questions that didn't get answered, I'm going to go through it, but tell us, if you don't mind, if you can put your information in the chat and let people know where they can reach out to you, and any summarizing or final comments that you might have.
Perfect. Thanks, Cory. Actually, while you were speaking, I did do that. I not only did I put the link for the personal trainer insurance, I put my personal contact information in there, my phone number, my email, and then I also put the link where you can get a discount to the beYogi liability insurance through our partnership with Conscious Counsel. So check out in the chat for all those. There is a couple of quick questions. I think we can knock these out real quick. Katie Santos asks, does this other product include Pilates and or nutrition? Yes to Pilates. We cover Pilates. We cover it actually through beYogi, or we cover it through Ensure Fitness Group. And nutrition is separate though. We do have coverage for dietitians and nutritionists, but it is a separate type of coverage. And the reason is that there is that's another thing where each and every state has different laws regulating ingestibles. And so we could not get it added as a part of our coverage, because we wanted to offer coverage for Ayurveda practices and different things that include ingestibles, but it is a very, very high risk piece to it. So it's not a part of our normal coverage. So if you are a registered dietitian, let's have a discussion, because we do have a separate program for that. Real quick. Dana wrote, I'll also be operating out of my home as a yoga therapist, and we'll create an LLC for this. I'll also host retreats out of my home property, assuming my homeowner's insurance is aware of this. I'm assuming our beYogi insurance covers this. Is that right? Yes, indeed. In fact, Dana, we're the only company I'm aware of in the space that actually got our underwriters to look in to vet the practice of yoga therapy, and then to offer coverage, or to offer in writing that we do cover yoga therapy. And we actually we have a unique partnership directly with the International Association of Yoga Therapy for that type of coverage. Originally, our underwriters, they saw the words yoga therapy and they said, no, you can't cover that. What they didn't realize, they saw the word therapy and they got scared. Once they vetted the practice and understood number one, it's a beautiful practice. It's even probably in some cases safer than some yoga instruction. And then the process of training for it, our underwriters said, absolutely, we can come. For those of us, Chris wrote, for those of us practicing outdoors too. Oh crap, where'd it go? I thought that I remember that in a past session with Cory, he offered a COVID waiver and wondering how we gain access to it. Is it available in English and Spanish? So one way to get access to it is through beYogi. Once you enroll in our program inside of our member portal, we have the opportunity to download a templated waiver, which was helped put together by Cory over at Conscious Counsel. Though I highly, highly recommend you take that waiver and you customize it to your business and potentially even get a lawyer, get counsel to review it, because the very specific nature, the things that need to be included in a waiver are so important. So many people might just put a waiver with very general things, and that waiver is not going to work 9 times out of 10. You need to be very specific about what you're doing, the risk of what you're doing, the outcomes of those things. Cory is the expert of that. I don't know that we have a waiver in Spanish, but I don't think that would be very difficult to translate.
Yeah, we can. I'll hop on quickly, and then we're at time, Joe. So all of the information's there. Any other questions will come in, and then I just want to conclude, just to come on and say thank you very much to Joe for his time. Everyone, if we could, like, wherever you are, if you could clap or if you could snap at Conscious Counsel when we have team meetings, we're big snappers. So if we could go on behalf of the Conscious Counsel community, and everyone can just write thank you, Joe, you are amazing, or anything like that. So we appreciate you, and look at all of the wonderful claps coming through. Another thing this information is great, and reach out to Joe, and he and I have worked together for years and I love him. And I'm so excited about it. Also, I'm going to put into this calendar, into the Zoom meeting as well, a link to book a call with me, a consultation. So it's a free consultation to anyone who feels like it. I'll just share on my end, a lot of these questions are things where I see different legal issues or questions popping up. So even things like updating a waiver to make sure all of the activity, like operating outdoors, it's a no-brainer. It needs to be fixed. The waiver needs to be specific to what you do. So anyone who wants to, feel free to book a call with me, and we'll chat, and we'll see where you're at and how we can get you to best practices. But Joe, love you, man. And so grateful to have you and to share this recording with all of this information. And I feel like all of us had a lot of fun and ate snacks. So we did an amazing job.
Thank you, Cory. Really, again, appreciate everybody's time today. If there was any questions, again, that we didn't get to, we'll be sure to send a post webinar follow-up to all of that. And just really, again, appreciate the time, appreciate the questions. Cory, couldn't appreciate our relationship and partnership more. And anything that we can do for you, sir, please let us know.
Okay. Love you, pal. Bye, everyone. So nice to see your faces. If you want to turn your camera on and say hi, do it. And we'll be real people. Yeah, hi. Just a lot of waves. A lot of waves.
Hello, Victoria. Thank you, Victoria, for doing what you do.
Okay. Ciao, guys. I'm going to close it, but thank you so much. And we'll post the recording. Okay. Have a great day. Nice to see everyone. Ciao. And now